My friend wants to name her baby the name of our best friend who passed away, except I already chose that name. Should I let her take the name or have her cut me off? Names have been changed for anonymity. I and my best friend Nicole lost our other best friend Christina due to a horrific car accident. We had been a trio since we were 4 years old, and Christina's death was, and still is, extremely traumatic for me. Both me and Nicole have had a horrible time coping without her and miss her so much. She was a one-in-a-million sister to us. Nicole and I have gotten even closer since her death, which is what makes this even more difficult. At the time of Christina's death, I was 7 months with my first baby, a little boy. We had originally picked an honor name for him from our family, but my husband had suggested we name in Christian in honor of Christina. I sat with it a little bit and then brought it up to Nicole, who was extremely against it, but not for the reasons you think. Since childhood, Nicole has hated any person younger than her by 4 years. She had been adamant about remaining child-free, and I don't think we had a single discussion ever about her even entertaining the idea of having kids. However, I love kids and think I'm a pretty decent mom, so if I could afford it I would have 20 kids. But for now we are settling on hopefully having 3. Nicole knew I wanted more kids than just my boy and said that I should really save Christina until I had a girl. Or, worst case scenario, if I only had boys, my last little one would be named Christian. After her explanation, I completely agreed that Christina should be saved for a future child and went with the other name for my son, which completely fits his personality and is perfect for him, so she still made the right call, haha. Fast forward to today, I am 31 weeks pregnant with a little girl. We have picked out the name Christina Iris, to name her after my best friend's name and favorite flower. We have embroidered so many things with her name, and I have even announced it on social media already. Anyone who knows me, knows this baby will be named Christina. Nicole got married a year ago to the most wonderful man and has completely changed the way she looks at kids. I was super excited because, while I never brought it up, I had always dreamed of our kids being best friends the way her and I were. She and I got pregnant pretty close together, by accident, and is currently 23 weeks. Before finding out the gender, she and I workshopped a ton of names that she and her husband loved and had figured out something perfect for her vibe. However, after her gender reveal where she found out she was having a girl, something flipped a switch and she had been adamant that she should get to name her baby Christina now. I told her I was willing to compromise and change the middle name so she could have Iris, or that I wouldn't mind at all if her little girl's middle name was Christina. In fact, I threw that out there while we workshopped names and she originally said no, or that she could go for Christine, but she has refused all of them. She said she will be naming her baby Christina and that I needed to comply because Christina was alive for my wedding but was not for hers, so I don't get to just take whatever I want. I'm devastated about this because I absolutely do not want to ruin our friendship. I want for our kids to be best friends and to watch them grow up together. I need her friendship desperately. But she is not budging. I've already spent all this money on clothes and blankets and signs for my little girl and am so dead set on the name too. I feel for her about the wedding, but she's treating me like I should be punished for it rather than not understanding that Christina also missed out on a ton of huge achievements of mine, like seeing my son be born or huge job promotions, etc. I'm also upset because she's the one who convinced me to name my son something else when I could have given him Christian. It finally came to a head this morning where she basically demanded I give her all of my embroidered stuff that I bought for my baby girl, so that I won't use it, and allow her to name her daughter Christina, or else she's going to cut me off. I'm at a loss and am unsure what to do. Should I let her cut me off and, since I will give birth first, stick with the name? Or should I give her my stuff and take the loss of the name? I'm so sick about this entire situation and know Nicole is just grieving in her own way, but I feel forced into a corner and have no way to fight for what I want. What should I do? Comment. Demanding all your stuff? This isn't a reasonable expectation. Let her cut you off. Friends don't hold each other hostage or demand ransoms. Even if you conceded in every way, there's no coming back from this. TBH, there is nothing wrong with 2 children being named in honor of Christina. All these demands and threats are just whack. Stop second guessing yourself, keep the name. She's beyond unreasonable and is acting abusive to you. You both could use the name, and I'm sure if she had asked you, the original person who were to use the name, you would have of course told her that 2 Christinas are better than 1. She's treating you like shit. Keep the name and cool it on this very one-sided friendship until she's willing to apologize. If you both end up with a Christina, that would be wonderful, but the fact that she's making demands and holding her friendship over you is disgusting and not what even a good acquaintance, let alone a best friend, would do. Christina number 1 would be horrified at her behavior, I'm sure. Who are these people that have such massive entitlement when it comes to something like a baby name? Even if you wanted to use Iris as a first name, it's none of Syl's business. It might be a weird thing to do given your daughter and niece will probably know each other, but even so, literally none of her business and you wouldn't need permission to do it. Even with your friend. You can just both use Christina. Call one of them Chrissy as a nickname if you want to distinguish easier. This isn't worth trying to steal someone's baby stuff over, and it's not worth anguishing that two people of similar age might have the same name. I do live in the South, with extended family in very small towns to boot, and the only person I'm asking permission for what to name my baby is the person who helped me make the baby. I'm probably more offended that there's going to be 20 other kids in my kids' class who are all going to be named some variation of insert sound Leland than if there are 1 or 2 others who have the same name as mine. For what it's worth as well, if this is all it takes to break your friendship, then she wasn't really your friend. The added context of this being in the South also makes me think your friend was either lying about being child-free, or didn't disclose the real timing for when she changed her mind. In my experience in the South, a woman not having kids is the real crime versus what she names them. Born and raised in a small, southern town. My first cousin and my sister, born 4 years apart, have the same first name, spelled exactly the same way. My aunt, by marriage, thought it was sweet that my mom was going to use the name she'd given her daughter, but if she'd pitched a fit about it instead, my mama would have told her to eat shit and use the name anyway, lol. People who think they can claim ownership of a name are utterly ridiculous and more entitled than any adult should be suffered to be. Your friend sounds like her hormones have short-circuited her brain, which isn't uncommon during pregnancy, but also shouldn't be excused. I'd text her saying you understand this is a difficult time for you both and likely even more scary for her since it's her first pregnancy after years of never wanting children, but that you are not going to tolerate abusive, selfish behavior from anyone, including her, so you're going to take a step back unless and until she's able to start being the friend you've loved for years instead of the mean, entitled asshole she's currently acting like. Even if we give our daughters the same name, there will always be one too few Christinas in the world, and I'm not about to dishonor her name by fighting with her other best friend over something that would break her heart. I hope both of our daughters have the same wonderful attributes of their namesake and do a better job of honoring her name than the situation is doing, then let it go. If she comes around, great. If not, so be it. No one who asks you to sacrifice something like this to maintain a friendship is an actual friend anyway. Why are you even playing into this BS culture of competitive naming? By doing so and asking people's permission, you are perpetuating obnoxious behavior. If people are willing to end a friendship or familial relationship over something so ridiculous, are these the type of people worth having in your life? This is so bizarre and completely unavoidable childish drama. Next story 2. I can't have children, and my wife doesn't want to adopt. I'll share a bit of my personal story to help you understand the whole situation. I was abandoned by my biological parents when I was very young and was adopted when I was 8 years old. My adoptive parents were wonderful to me, and I have a brother who is the biological child of my adoptive parents, 3 years older than me. I believe that being abandoned had a profound impact on me, and I've always had a strong desire to be a father and have children. I met my wife when I was 19 and she was 18. I've always been open with her about my history, providing all the details, and I made it clear that my dream was to have a family with more than one child. She also expressed a desire to have a family, and this was never an issue. We got married, and it's been about 2 years since we decided it was time to have our first child. We started trying, but she didn't get pregnant, so we sought medical advice to understand if there was any issue. It was then that I found out I'm sterile, and my wife doesn't have any medical problems. I was devastated, but since I myself was adopted, I saw adoption as the ideal solution. I suggested to my wife that we should adopt, but she was against it. She cited reasons that are, in reality, based on prejudices against foster kids. I was deeply saddened by this because when you talk about one of those children, you're also talking about me. We've had many discussions, but I haven't been able to change her prejudiced views. On the other hand, she proposed that we should undergo artificial insemination with an anonymous donor. I disagreed with this because it would cost a lot of money, and I feel it's unfair to act so selfishly when there are thousands of children waiting to be adopted. Our marriage is going through a serious crisis because of this. I can't comprehend how she can hold such opinions about adoption while being married to me. I'd appreciate any suggestions on how to change her mind. I've seriously considered separation because being a father is the dream of my life. However, I still love my wife. Would separating over this issue be too extreme? I'm really lost. Edit. I forgot an extremely important point when I wrote, my wife said that if we had a child through artificial insemination, we would be the biological parents, even though I'm not the biological father. I completely disagreed with that. I believe we need to be as honest as possible with the child. Comment. Hi, I'm a fellow adoptee. I absolutely do not recommend that you try to convince her to adopt. I know what it's like to know that you were only adopted because one parent really wanted to and the other settled for it. To be honest, I am shocked that her true feelings never came up before. I've spoken at length about my adoption with my husband, who is not adopted, and before we decided being child-free, we did discuss biological or adoptive children. Unfortunately, it sounds like you two may be incompatible at this point. Based on your edit, I agree that you absolutely shouldn't have a child via insemination and say you're the biological father if you're not. However, there seems to be a lot of other deeper issues that need to be communicated between you and your wife. My opinion is to recommend that you find an adoption competent therapist to help you really delve into your feelings of your adoption and potential parenthood. You wanted a biological child until it wasn't possible, so you turned to adoption. I think that needs to be explored. I think before you and your wife decide to do anything, pursue parenthood or separation, it would be beneficial to speak to a counselor to ensure that you two are on the same page. If both of you care more about the method by which you become parents than you care about starting and raising a family together, then unfortunately, I don't think there is a way forward. Especially if you're going to make it this much of a personal judgment on each other's priorities. In fact, did you talk about anything when it came to kids other than how many you wanted? Because I have a funny feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg on the stuff you disagree on, and maybe you should figure that out before you get any deeper into this argument. You found out that wasn't a possibility. Does that mean you were rejecting all of those children out there in foster care? Of course not. Neither is your wife. She still has the option of becoming pregnant and giving birth, which is an important thing for some people, just like it was important to you to create a child until you knew it could not happen. I don't think you are really being fair toward her. And I think you must be honest with yourself that it's not a matter of money. We are talking about artificial insemination, not IVF. To me, this seems like all of this has brought up some painful memories for you, and that's what is keeping you from looking at this from her point of view. Her important things might not be the same as his important things. This is an incredibly emotional time and decision for them. Her rejection of adoption is probably making him feel rejected on top of dealing with the fact he can't just give her what she wants. It's possible they may be fundamentally incompatible, and that's okay. It's hard and painful, but it's better in the long run to face facts before they destroy you. I worry everyone here is focusing too much on that she can still have a biological child, so he should just accept the sperm donor route. But maybe he just can't. It's okay that they aren't in the same place. Better to find out now than when one of them is bitter, angry, and/or unattached emotionally to the child who needs to be priority number one. If you're considering adopting through the foster system, you need to realize that the current goal of the system is reunification. Very few children in the foster system already have parental rights terminated. I know of multiple families that were disqualified if the foster screening process because they did want to ultimately adopt one of the placements and the social workers felt that it was contradictory to the agency's mission. Private adoption is incredibly expensive. However, IUI can be covered by health insurance, and sperm from a reputable bank is actually not that expensive.